The desert research outpost stood in the middle of a silent Martian plain, far away from human cities, and far away from anything that could disturb the work of the scientists stationed there. The sky above the outpost was a pale orange, and soft dust storms drifted over the distant dunes. Every morning, the sun rose like a glowing red coin, reminding the humans living there how far they were from Earth. Dr. Ilara Voss, a xenolinguist who studied ancient symbols and languages, stepped out of her small living unit. Her boots sank lightly into the soft red soil. She breathed slowly, grounding herself before the long day ahead. Even though she had been on Mars for 3 months, she still felt a quiet excitement every time she stepped outside. This planet held secrets, old secrets, mysterious secrets, and she was one of the few people allowed to search for answers. Ilara was in her mid-30s, calm, clever, and quietly determined. She preferred quiet places and quiet work. And Mars was the perfect place for that. She walked across the dusty ground toward the excavation site, where strange alien ruins had been discovered not long ago. These ruins were unlike anything humanity had seen before, smooth black stones carved with unknown patterns, arranged in shapes that defied normal design. Many believed they were only natural rock formations, but Ilara knew better. She felt something about them, something intentional. When she reached the dig site, the morning sunlight revealed the scattered ruins clearly. A team of drones hovered quietly above the stones, scanning every surface. Lights flashed as they recorded data. The research team inside the nearby outpost monitored everything, but Ilara preferred hands-on exploration. She liked being close enough to feel the rough stone textures, to see the strange marks with her own eyes. She crouched beside one of the larger stones, running her fingers over a line of symbols. They were sharp, clean, and deliberate. These were written by someone, she whispered to herself. No one answered. The desert around her remained silent, as if listening. She began her work, using brushes, scanners, and small tools to gently remove dust from between the symbols. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher in the sky. The drones floated in their slow patterns. Ilara was alone, but she did not mind. She liked the peace. Then, around midday, something unusual caught her attention. A faint shimmer appeared between 2 stones, not bright, but enough to pull her gaze. She frowned and moved closer. The shimmer grew stronger, like sunlight reflecting off metal. "What is that?" she murmured. She reached into the narrow space between the stones and felt something smooth and cold. For a moment she hesitated. It felt too perfect to be natural. Carefully, she pulled the object free. When it came into the light, her breath caught in her throat. In her hand lay a small metallic key. It was unlike any key she had ever seen. It was thin, perfectly shaped, almost beautiful. Strange patterns ran along its surface, glowing faintly with shifting colors that changed when she moved the key. The material looked like metal but felt lighter, almost weightless. It hummed gently, as if it was alive. "What are you?" she whispered. The key did not answer, but the soft humming grew slightly louder. Ilara stood up slowly, her heart beating faster. She looked around the empty desert, suddenly feeling as if she was being watched. But there was no one there, not even an animal or a robot, just wind and sand. She looked at the key again. The symbols engraved on it looked similar to the ones on the ruins, but they also seemed more advanced. They were smoother, sharper, glowing with a strange energy. The patterns moved ever so slightly, shifting as if reacting to her gaze. The key was not something that belonged here. She could feel it. It should not exist. She took a slow breath, steadying her nerves. Then she placed the key gently into her field bag and headed back toward the outpost. Her steps were quicker than usual. Her mind raced with questions. Inside the outpost, the lights were bright and the air cool. The team of scientists and technicians sat at their stations, busy with various tasks. Computer screens glowed with data about the ruins. No one paid attention to Ilara as she slipped into the analysis room. She closed the door behind her and set her field bag on the table. Then she took out the key. Even under artificial lights, the key shimmered softly. Alara placed it on the scanner table and initiated the analysis. The machine hummed as beams of light passed over the key. The screen lit up with data, then it flashed red. Unknown material detected. Unknown energy signature. Patterns unstable, unable to decode. Alara blinked. That had never happened before. The scanner system was one of the most advanced machines available. It could identify any known element and analyze any known structure. Yet it could not understand this key. She tried again. More red warnings. The machine simply could not classify the object. Alara leaned forward, studying the strange readings. The energy signature was unusual, faint but constant, almost like a heartbeat. It pulsed at regular intervals. She looked at it closely and realized something unsettling. The key's energy pulse matched her own heartbeat. She stepped back quickly. "That's impossible," she whispered, but the monitor did not lie. The key's energy changed whenever she moved closer or farther away. It reacted to her. After several minutes of staring at the readings, she finally reached out and picked up the key again. The moment she touched it, a soft light spread across its surface. The symbols glowed brighter. Then, suddenly, a small holographic projection rose from the key, thin lines of blue light forming a shape in the air. A map. Alara stared, stunned. The projection showed stars, planets, and a glowing path leading to a location she did not recognize. The path began at her current position on Mars, stretching across space to a distant point deep in the galaxy. The room felt silent, cold, still. Alara to command. A voice called from outside the door, but she did not hear it. All her attention was on the key. The projection faded slowly after several seconds, and the key returned to its earlier glow. Alara exhaled shakily. She felt a mix of fear and wonder. Someone made this key. Someone powerful. Someone who understood both science and something deeper. But why would such a key be found on Mars? And why would it respond to her, a human xenolinguist? She sat down at the table, trying to think clearly. Her mind ran through every theory she knew about ancient alien civilizations. But nothing matched this. No known species used technology like this. She tried to steady herself by writing notes. Key reacts to touch. Energy signature matches human heartbeat. Map points toward unknown star system. Material unknown. Symbols similar but more advanced than ruins. Key, not natural, not random. Purpose unclear. As she wrote the last point, she paused. Something about the key still felt strange. Beyond the data. It felt personal, the way it reacted to her touch. The way its symbols shifted when she looked at them. The way the light formed shapes that made sense in her mind, even though they were alien, as if it was made for her. A soft knock came at the door. Alara quickly covered the key with a cloth. "Alara, you in there?" The voice belonged to Marcus Hale, the outpost's lead engineer. "Yes, I'm here," she replied, trying to keep her voice calm. The door slid open, and Marcus stepped inside. He was tall, friendly, always curious about anything new. He looked around and raised an eyebrow. "You disappeared from the dig site. Everything okay?" "Just analyzing something," Alara said, trying not to sound suspicious. Marcus noticed the cloth on the table. "What's that?" "Just a rock sample," she lied. Marcus shrugged. "All right, just checking. We're planning a team meeting in an hour. Commander wants updates." He turned to leave. "Don't forget, okay?" "I won't." When the door closed again, Alara uncovered the key. Its glow had softened, as if waiting for her. She whispered, "Why me?" There was no answer. Only the faint hum of energy. The rest of the day passed slowly. Alara kept the key close but hidden. She could not stop thinking about the map. The destination called to her like a quiet voice in her mind. She knew following the map could be dangerous, but ignoring it felt wrong. That night, long after everyone else went to sleep, she stepped outside again. The desert was cold now, the wind sharp and dry. She held the key in her hand, looking up at the star-filled sky. There were millions of stars out there, but the map pointed to only one. Alara felt something she had not felt in years, a deep sense of purpose. A feeling that she was standing at the beginning of something huge. Something that could change not only her life but maybe all of humanity. She closed her fingers around the key. Whatever this object was, it was not just an artifact, not just a discovery, not just a clue. It was an invitation, and she intended to follow it. The hum of the Aegis filled the cabin as Dr. Alara Voss settled into her seat. The ship was small, but advanced, built for deep space exploration. Outside the windows, the stars stretched in endless patterns. Mars had grown smaller behind them, a red dot fading into memory. Alara held the key carefully in her hands, watching it glow softly. Even here, in the controlled environment of the ship, it seemed alive. It pulsed faintly with energy, like a heartbeat. Commander Rian Kane, the leader of the mission, walked past her, his boots clicking lightly on the metal floor. He was tall, with sharp features and an aura of quiet authority. "We've entered the coordinates you found," he said. "The path the key shows. It's unlike any mapped star system in our database." Alara nodded. "I know. That's why I insisted we follow it. The key doesn't lie." The rest of the crew, a mix of scientists and engineers, worked silently, monitoring the ship's systems. Each of them had heard the rumors before leaving Earth about Dr. Voss finding a key that should not exist. Some believed it was a hoax, others were cautious. But now, floating through uncharted space, they all felt a mix of awe and fear. The Aegis began its long journey into the unknown. Days passed. The stars outside the ship seemed to stretch and shift as faster than light drives carried them farther from the solar system. Alara spent most of her time studying the key. She had tried every analysis possible on Mars, but nothing explained it. On the ship, she discovered something even stranger. The key seemed to respond to her thoughts. When she concentrated on a specific part of the map, the key pulsed more strongly and projected small holographic highlights in that direction. "It's like it understands me," she said softly one evening, as the ship drifted past a bright cluster of distant suns. Her assistant, Dr. Lin Tao, a quiet engineer with a talent for pattern recognition, looked up from her console. "That's impossible," she said. "No machine responds to thoughts like that. Not even the most advanced AI we have. And yet," she gestured at the key, "it's reacting to you." Alara nodded. "I know. I feel it too. I think it wants me to follow it." As the journey continued, strange phenomena began to occur aboard the Aegis. Systems would activate without commands. Navigation lights flickered at precise moments, guiding the ship safely through asteroid fields that sensors had not detected. Small anomalies appeared in the ship's engines, energy surges that could have been dangerous, but somehow they never caused harm. Rian noticed this and frowned. "It's as if the ship itself is being guided by something," he said during a meeting in the command deck. "I don't like it. We follow one artifact into deep space, and suddenly our ship has a mind of its own. That's not science," Alara tried to explain. "It's not the ship. It's the key. I don't know how, but it is influencing everything. It's keeping us safe. I think it wants us to reach the destination." Rian shook his head, not entirely convinced. "We'll see. Just stay cautious. We don't know what we are dealing with." The crew could feel the tension in the air. Some whispered about alien traps, others about ancient weapons. But despite the fear, they could not deny the strange safety net the key provided. Every potential disaster seemed to be avoided, almost as if the key anticipated danger before anyone could see it. One night, Alara sat alone in her cabin, staring at the glowing key. She let her thoughts wander. Memories of Earth came to her, the forests she had walked through, the oceans she had studied, the people she had loved. For a moment, she wondered why the key had chosen her. Why humans? Her thoughts drifted back to the visions she had glimpsed on Mars. When she touched the key in the ruins, she had seen images of civilizations long gone. Cities floating in space, planets destroyed, beings she could not name. They had vanished, leaving only fragments. And yet, their legacy lived on in the key. It was then that she realized something. Humans were not meant to just find the key. They were meant to understand it. The key had chosen her because humans were capable of curiosity, creativity, and empathy, the very qualities that had allowed her to survive and explore. No other species, no matter how intelligent, could navigate the challenges the key presented. As she thought about this, a soft pulse radiated from the key. The holographic map expanded, showing a glowing path winding between stars and black holes, leading to a distant star system. The path was clear, precise, and impossible for a human navigator to chart alone, Elara whispered. We are not just following it. We are part of it. Days turned into weeks. The Aegis moved through sectors of space that no human ship had ever entered. Strange lights appeared in the void, particles that shimmered with colors no human eye could name. Some crew members reported feeling strange sensations, warmth, calmness, even flashes of memory that were not their own. Dr. Lin Tao approached Elara one evening. I don't understand it, she said. I've run every simulation I can think of. The key is rewriting probability around us. It is keeping us alive, guiding us, even communicating without words. Elara looked at her friend. I think it's more than that. It's teaching us. Showing us that we are ready for something bigger. Something no human has faced before. But not all aboard the ship felt hope. Rian remained cautious, and some crew members whispered fears in the corridors. They worried about what might happen when they reached the destination. Could it be a trap? Could they awaken something dangerous? Elara understood their fear, but she could not stop. The key's pull was too strong. It called to her, a silent voice that promised discovery and knowledge. Every time she held it, every time she focused, she felt the map guide her with perfect precision. Then, one night, the Aegis entered a region of space that defied logic. Gravity waves twisted around them. Stars shimmered with impossible colors. Sensors went haywire. The crew panicked. Rian yelled over the alarms. Divert the engines! We're losing control! Elara stepped forward, holding the key. No, wait! The key glowed intensely, casting light across the bridge. A calm energy spread through the room. The alarms quieted. The ship stabilized. All systems returned to normal as if the chaos had never happened. The crew stared in disbelief. Even Rian looked stunned. How? What? He whispered. Elara smiled faintly. It's guiding us. It knew exactly how to get through. After that night, the crew began to trust the key. Not fully, but enough to let it guide them. They worked together to maintain the ship, but they followed the paths the key projected without questioning every turn. During long periods of quiet, Elara studied the key's symbols. She realized they were more than alien writing. They were patterns, instructions, lessons. When she traced them with her fingers, small insights appeared in her mind. A safe path through debris fields, a technique for conserving energy, even subtle solutions to complex problems aboard the ship. It was as if the key was teaching her. Not just giving directions, but showing how to think beyond what humans normally could. One evening, she shared her thoughts with Lin Tao. I think the key, it's preparing us, preparing humans for what is waiting at the end of the path. Whoever made this, they trusted humans. They thought we could rise to the challenge. Lin nodded slowly. It makes sense. No other species could have survived this journey. We've faced dangers we couldn't even see coming. And yet, here we are. Moving forward. Elara smiled. Yes. We are moving forward. Not just to reach the destination, but to prove that we can understand, adapt, and succeed. That's why it chose us. As the ship sailed deeper into unknown space, strange signals began to appear on the scanners, faint, repeating patterns that resembled communication. They were not immediately intelligible, but the key reacted strongly whenever Elara approached. She leaned closer to the console, touching the key. The patterns resolved into shapes she could recognize. They were like stars, planets, and paths, matching the projection from the key. "Someone, or something, wants us to see this," she said. The crew watched silently, feeling the tension and excitement growing. This journey was more than a mission. It was an adventure unlike any human had ever experienced. It was a test, a discovery, and a chance to see the universe in ways no one had before. Days passed. The Aegis neared the edge of mapped space. Stars became distant lights. Nebulae glowed with colors unseen. And through it all, the key pulsed, guiding, teaching, and calling. Ilara knew, deep inside, that the journey was far from over. The destination was near. But what awaited them could change everything. Not just their lives, but humanity itself. She held the key in her hands that night, staring out at the infinite blackness. "We are ready," she whispered. "Whatever is out there, we will meet it. Because we are human, and that is enough." The key pulsed once, brightly, as if acknowledging her words, and for the first time, Ilara felt a complete sense of trust. She and her crew were not alone in this journey. Something beyond human understanding had chosen them, and together they would follow the path, no matter what lay at the end. The Aegis moved silently through the darkness of uncharted space. Outside the ship's windows, stars seemed to shift in patterns no human had ever seen before. The key pulsed steadily in Ilara's hand, guiding the ship closer to its destination. She could feel it vibrating with anticipation, as if it knew they were near. Commander Rian Kane leaned over the navigation console, studying the readings. "This star system isn't on any chart. Even the deep space surveys don't show anything here," he said. His voice was tense, a mixture of awe and worry. "It's massive. Something is here, something artificial." Ilara nodded without speaking. Words felt inadequate. The key glowed brighter, as if responding to her thoughts. She traced her fingers along its surface, and a holographic projection appeared, revealing the object that awaited them. A colossal structure, larger than any space station humans had ever built. Its shape was unlike anything she had seen. Part of it looked like a temple, with towering spires that caught the light of the distant star, while other sections resembled a complex machine. Intricate and precise, the whole structure orbited a dying star, casting a soft glow across the void. "It's incredible," whispered Dr. Lin Tao, who stood behind Ilara. "Who could build something like this?" No one we know," Ilara said softly. Her eyes were fixed on the structure, and yet it feels familiar. The ship approached cautiously. Sensors detected strange energy readings, fluctuating fields, and patterns that defied human physics. The crew worked quietly, awe and tension mixing in the air. Every step toward the structure felt like entering a world that had been waiting for them for thousands, maybe millions, of years. As the Aegis reached orbit, the key pulsed so brightly that the light filled the entire cabin. Then, slowly, a section of the structure opened, revealing a gateway, a circular portal filled with shimmering energy. "It's a doorway," Rian said. His voice was a whisper. "And it's open." Ilara approached the portal, holding the key tightly. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The key had guided them here, and now she had to follow. "Are we ready?" she asked, looking at her crew. "Yes," Lin said firmly. The other crew members nodded, their eyes wide with awe. With a deep breath, Ilara stepped through the portal. The moment she crossed the threshold, the world changed. Light surrounded her, warm and gentle, but not from any sun she knew. The air smelled faintly of metal and something sweet, like a memory she could not place. The chamber was immense walls of smooth, glowing material stretched high above, decorated with patterns that seemed to move and change when she looked at them. The crew followed her, stepping carefully. They looked around in wonder, their eyes reflecting the soft light. This is beyond human design," Rian whispered. Ilara held the key in front of her. It pulsed, and projected a new holographic map, this time showing the interior of the structure. She realized with a thrill that the key was guiding her again, not just through space, but through this place. This key, she said slowly. It's more than a map. It's a guide. Someone created it to lead us here and show us how to move safely. The first chamber they entered was filled with machines and holographic displays. Some hovered in the air, while others were embedded in the walls. Strange energy flowed through the room, and patterns shifted across the floor, showing pathways and points of interest. Alara traced her fingers along the key's surface. A small projection appeared, highlighting a set of symbols on the walls. She walked toward them, realizing that the symbols were not just decorative, they were instructions. They seemed to teach her something. As she studied them, a vision appeared in her mind. She saw civilizations long gone, planets filled with intelligent beings, machines that moved like living creatures, and cities that floated in space. Then, slowly, the vision faded, leaving only the impression that these civilizations had vanished, leaving clues behind. They were trying to teach someone, Alara said softly. They left this place, as a test. Test? Rian asked, confused. Yes, Alara said. The key, the journey, this structure. It's all designed to see if a species can understand, can adapt, can rise to challenges they have never faced. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. You mean, us? Lin asked. Alara nodded. Yes. Humans. Whoever made this wanted humans to find it. To prove that we are capable of more than we think. The next chamber was larger, filled with complex machines that hummed softly. Holographic screens displayed stars, planets, and symbols that shifted in patterns. Alara realized that this room contained knowledge far beyond what humanity had discovered. It's a library, she whispered, a record of everything they knew. As she stepped closer to one of the machines, the key pulsed strongly. A holographic display appeared, showing energy flows, advanced technology, and structures she could barely comprehend. Yet, strangely, she understood some of it. The key seemed to translate complex concepts into forms she could grasp. These are instructions, she said. Not just data. Instructions for advanced technology, energy systems, even travel through space in ways we never imagined. Rian studied the displays with a mixture of awe and fear. We could change everything, he said. With this, humanity could. Everything we dreamed of. Yes, Alara said. But we must be careful. Whoever left this, they also left warnings. She pointed to a section of the holographic projection. Symbols glowed red, forming patterns that spoke of danger, misuse, and responsibility. This is not just power, it's a responsibility. Misuse could be catastrophic. After, Lin studied the patterns closely. It's like they knew we would need guidance, that humans would need to be taught before we could handle it safely. Alara nodded. And that's why they made the key. To find someone capable. To find a species that could rise to the challenge. The crew moved deeper into the structure. The walls were smooth, cold, and glowing faintly. Every step felt purposeful. Alara could sense that the structure itself was alive in some way, responding to their presence, guiding them, teaching them. Then they reached the largest chamber yet. The room was enormous, stretching hundreds of meters in every direction. At the center stood a pedestal, glowing softly. The key pulsed intensely as Alara approached. On the pedestal was a crystal, unlike anything she had ever seen. It seemed to contain a miniature galaxy inside. Stars spinning slowly, light flowing in intricate patterns. The key resonated with the crystal, projecting an image of the civilizations she had seen in visions, showing their rise, their knowledge, and their disappearance. This, she whispered, this is the culmination. The reason the key exists. To show us what was possible, and what we must become. Rian stepped closer, awe and fear in his eyes. They trusted us. To continue what they started? Yes, Alara said. They left this for a species capable of understanding, of learning, of taking responsibility. They saw humans as a species with curiosity, intelligence, and empathy. They believed we could rise to meet their challenge. For a long moment, the room was silent. The crew felt the weight of their discovery. The key pulsed softly in Alara's hand, as if confirming her words. Then she realized something important. The creators of the structure had vanished. There were no beings left, no guardians, only the key, the lessons, and the warnings. Humanity had been chosen not because they were perfect, but because they were capable of growth, of learning, of rising to challenges. Alara placed the key gently on the pedestal. The crystal's light enveloped it, and the holographic projections expanded, showing pathways, knowledge, and possibilities. We have work to do, she said. We must learn. We must understand. And we must be careful. This knowledge, it can help humanity, but only if we use it wisely. Lynn nodded. It's incredible. We've been given a gift. And a test. Yes, Alara said. And the first part of the test was reaching here. We succeeded. Now we must prove we can use this knowledge responsibly. The chamber pulsed with light. The key seemed to hum with satisfaction. Alara felt a quiet joy and a heavy responsibility. They were standing at the threshold of something larger than any one person. Larger than humanity itself. The Aegis had carried them across the stars to this place, guided by a key that should not exist. Now, they had found the heart of an ancient civilization's legacy. And it was up to them to decide what came next. Alara looked around at her crew. They were tired, overwhelmed, but also inspired. She smiled faintly. We are ready, she said. We will learn, we will grow, and we will honor what has been left for us. For the first time in weeks, a sense of calm filled the chamber. The key pulsed gently, the crystal glowed, and the room seemed alive with quiet energy. Somewhere in the structure, a voice seemed to whisper, not in words, but in understanding. Humans, you are ready. Alara felt a shiver of awe. Humanity had been chosen. Humanity had been trusted. And now, the real journey was only beginning. The journey back to Earth was quiet, but heavy with thought. The Aegis moved steadily through the dark stretches of space, carrying not only its crew but also knowledge that could change the course of human history. Alara sat in her cabin, the key resting gently in her hands. Its glow was soft, almost like it was watching her, waiting for her to decide what to do next. The ancient structure they had discovered was now far behind them, yet its lessons remained vivid in her mind. She could still see the holographic chambers, the crystal holding a miniature galaxy, and the messages left by the vanished civilization. They had trusted humanity not because humans were perfect, but because humans could grow, adapt, and choose wisely. Alara could feel the weight of that trust. The key had chosen her, but it had chosen all humans by extension. Now, she had to decide how to honor that gift. Commander Rian Kane entered her cabin quietly. You've been staring at that key for hours, he said. His tone was gentle, though his eyes were serious. What are you thinking? Alara looked up, her fingers still tracing the smooth surface of the key. I'm thinking about responsibility, she said. We've been given knowledge beyond anything humanity has seen. Energy systems, advanced technology, ways to travel through space, even methods to solve problems we thought were impossible. But this knowledge can be dangerous if it's misused. Rian nodded slowly. Governments and corporations will want it. They will see it as power, not responsibility. That's exactly why we must be careful, Alara said. We have to guide humanity, but we must also let it grow on its own. The key didn't just show us technology. It taught us understanding, patience, and caution. That is the lesson we must share first. The ship's AI, A calm voice that had guided them throughout the journey spoke from the console. "Captain Voss, we are nearing the outskirts of the solar system. Earth is within reach." Alara took a deep breath and stood, holding the key close. "Then it is time. Time to decide what comes next." When the Aegis entered Earth's orbit, the planet looked small and fragile from space. Oceans shimmered under the sunlight. Clouds drifted slowly across continents. Cities glowed faintly at night. It was the home they had left behind. Yet it now seemed entirely different to Alara. Humanity's future rested in her hands. She gathered the crew in the command room. Everyone could sense the tension, the anticipation, and the unspoken understanding that this mission had changed everything. "We've seen something incredible," Alara began. Her voice was calm but firm. "We've learned that humans are capable of greatness. We've been trusted by a civilization far older and wiser than our own. And now, we have a choice. We can share this knowledge openly, or we can guide humanity carefully, ensuring it is used wisely." Lin Tao, her assistant, spoke softly. "We can't hide it forever. People will notice. They will want answers." Alara nodded. "Yes, but sharing it recklessly could lead to conflict, wars, greed, destruction, the very mistakes that destroyed those civilizations we saw in the visions. We must be the guardians of this knowledge first. We must teach responsibility before power." Rian looked at her. His expression conflicted. "And what if people resist? What if they don't understand why we are holding back?" "Then we lead by example," Alara said. "We demonstrate understanding, ethics, and patience. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Wisdom first, knowledge second. That is the key's lesson." The crew was silent for a moment, thinking about the responsibility they carried. Then Lin spoke again. "So, we become teachers, guides, guardians, not rulers, not dictators, just humans, showing humans what is possible." Alara smiled faintly. "Exactly. That is our role. And if we do this correctly, humanity can rise to a new era. One that honors the trust placed in us." The weeks that followed were tense. The crew returned to Earth quietly, landing in a remote research facility far from major cities. There, they began cataloging everything they had learned from the structure. Advanced energy systems, technologies for space travel, and even designs for medical breakthroughs were carefully studied. But Alara insisted on something unusual. "Before we apply any of this knowledge," she said, "we must understand it fully. We must be ready to teach, not just use. If we fail, humanity could repeat the mistakes of the civilizations we saw." The team worked tirelessly. They ran simulations, tested technologies safely, and developed methods for sharing knowledge responsibly. The key remained in Alara's care, pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat that reminded her of the trust she carried. Word of their discoveries began to leak. Journalists, scientists, and government officials became curious. Some were eager, some skeptical, some fearful. Alara and the crew managed the attention carefully, sharing only what humanity could handle responsibly. It was a delicate balance. Too much exposure could cause panic. Too little could lead to suspicion. But slowly, humanity began to learn. Small advancements were introduced: cleaner energy systems, better medical tools, and improved technology for communication and transport. Each step was deliberate, designed to teach responsibility alongside capability. Even as the world changed, Alara never let the key out of her sight. It pulsed gently whenever humans approached recklessly, as if reminding her to guide, not rush. One evening, Alara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Earth stretched endlessly below, and the sky above was clear and dark. The key pulsed faintly in her hand. Glowing with quiet energy, she thought back to the ancient structure, the crystal, and the civilizations that had vanished. Their warning was clear. Power, without wisdom, destroys itself. Humanity had a chance to rise above that fate. And she realized something important. This journey was not just about discovery. It was about proving humanity's potential. Curiosity, intelligence, empathy, and courage, these were the qualities that had allowed her to reach the structure and understand its purpose. These qualities would allow humans to grow responsibly, if guided well. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime from the console. Rian's voice came through. "Alara, the council wants to meet. They're asking about the key." She nodded. "I know. It is time." The meeting was tense. Leaders from around the world sat in a secure room, facing Alara and her crew. Screens displayed basic diagrams of what they had discovered. Without revealing the full extent, the council asked questions, some practical, some suspicious. Alara spoke carefully. "We have discovered technologies and knowledge far beyond current human capabilities. But these discoveries come with responsibility. We cannot release them fully until humanity is ready to understand and use them wisely." Also, some council members frowned. "Are you saying you will control access to this knowledge?" one asked sharply. "No," Alara said. "We are not controlling humanity. We are guiding it. The knowledge will be shared, but in a way that teaches responsibility first. If we rush, if we give power without understanding, we risk repeating the mistakes of the civilizations we learned about." There was silence. Slowly, the council nodded. They understood. Even if they did not fully agree, the decision weighed heavily on all of them. Over the following months, humanity began to change. Small but important innovations were introduced. Cities became more energy efficient. Medical treatments improved. Communication technologies connected people in safer and more thoughtful ways. Each advancement carried a lesson in responsibility. Alara watched from the research facility, guiding scientists and engineers quietly. The key pulsed softly, responding to progress. Occasionally, it flared briefly when humans made choices that aligned with wisdom. Almost like a silent celebration. The world did not change overnight, but it began to move in a direction that honored the trust placed in humanity. People became more curious, more careful, and more capable of thinking beyond themselves. Alara realized that the key had not just chosen her. It had chosen humanity for a reason. Humans had the potential to rise above fear, greed, and conflict. They could learn, adapt, and grow. One night, as she looked at the glowing key in her hands, she whispered, "We did it. We are proving that humans are capable, that we are worthy." The key pulsed once, brighter than ever, as if agreeing. In the years that followed, humanity continued to explore, learn, and grow. The lessons of the key were never forgotten. Small groups of scientists and educators carried the responsibility, teaching knowledge alongside wisdom. Alara became a quiet leader, guiding humans not with authority, but with example. She showed that curiosity, courage, and empathy were as important as intelligence. And the key, ever present, remained a reminder of the trust and responsibility that had been placed in humanity. It was a new beginning, one that proved that humans were not just survivors, they were capable of greatness. And somewhere in the stars, the vanished civilization's legacy watched silently, knowing that their faith in humanity had been justified. Alara smiled faintly, holding the key close. "We were ready," she whispered. "And we will continue to be ready. Because humans, we rise to challenges no one else can face." The key pulsed one last time in her hands, soft, steady, and alive. And humanity stepped forward into the future, guided by curiosity, wisdom, and the courage to choose rightly.